Okay. So in Node.js, if you want to execute a file, you will do what happened? Why do we have to put if equal and oh, when it's the opposite? We check if there's a the third index, the index number 2, then we check the value. Okay. It's the other way around, not that. Okay, to execute a file in Node.js, you will run this command node, and then the path to that file. So this is going to be a relative path, right? You can do it like this. It's okay. It's also work, right? Because right now we are inside this folder already, so we don't need to do that. We can just do node app.js. Okay, and then so in this script we have a if else block here, which will check the index number 2, which means the third element inside the array. So the third element is going to be the .js, which is this keyword, blah 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 blah. So this here is going to be the third element. So right now you don't see anything because this argument doesn't match the string list or add at all. So it will skip this if and this else if. So so right here you can do else console.log, please enter an appropriate do a spell, right? Right. Well, whatever. A correct a correct comment, for example. So now if I enter something bullshit like that, live rec in console, like this. So please enter correct comment, and then there will be a live rec here. Or you can just do another console log. That also work, right? And so now we need to, okay, this call will fail because there's no to-dos, right? There will be no to-dos. So you need to cause to-dos equal, I didn't do that part. I had this line before because I actually defined to do outside. In the example before, we even have these functions, these functions. I had something like cause to-dos equals an array something. And that was when I added this line of code. Now you need to cause to-do inside of this. So I'm going to do copy this line, paste it here. So now if I do node app.js and then list, it will list all the to-dos for me, right? Something I had to look like doesn't need to stay in the code. I like this coding much more than the front end. Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is more about logic than the front end, because on the inside React, you will have state and you will see kind of like everything's working like in a circle, because everything you update the state, the whole app will render kind of like a circle. And sometimes when you have problem, if you don't have experience, you will have no idea where it failed. But in backend, the workflow is it starts from A to B in a very straightforward way. Yeah, so the whole modeling is like how you read the arguments from the command lines, as well as how you read from the system, a file from the system. Then share back. Yeah, pretty much it. The code is just this much. Okay, so that's how we read the command lines, the arguments from the commands. And then here we have two functions, load data and set data. low data, you actually just to read the data of this file. So this is going to be a relative path to the file, or it could be an absolute path. So I will show you how to use absolute path later during the course. So right now, just put the file here. That's fine. So this method from the file system will return a buffer, a file buffer, which is kind of like binary, and then you will have to turn it into a string, right? And then when you turn it into a string, and then you convert it into JavaScript object. It could be a string, it could be a number, it could be an array, it could be an object. Those kind of stuff are objects in JavaScript. Yeah. And then we finally return the data, so that in the future, later on, we can work with that JavaScript object using the method, for example, push, pop, slice, or anything related to JavaScript. So I have a try catch block here because for some reason, the data inside our data presentation is not in the correct format. What if it's like this? What if I have an empty array? Not really an empty array, but some bullshit. There's nothing inside my data presentation. So this try and catch block will return an empty array for us, right? So it could be an object. It could be an object here, right? But when we run the code again, oh, this one's wrong. Actually, there we have something in there, so it's gonna be all right. So here we could have another check to see if this is an array or not, but that's too much. Usually you don't have this kind of stuff. What if you don't have anything in here? So I'm gonna do again. So it's gonna return an empty object, right? An empty array for you from here, because there was an error, and that error was this file is actually not a JSON file, even though you name it JSON, but the content is not in the format of a JSON. So that's why it throws an error in the try block here. And then we catch the error, we console it out. You see the unexpected end of JSON input. Because there's an error, we return an empty array. Okay. And then if you want to, you will have the same problem here. You don't have anything in your data JSON file, right? But if you want to add a to-do test, the script will generate an array by default here, and it will try to append the test string into the array. Not append, sorry, push, and then that array will become an array of one element, which is the string test, and then it will save to this file here. So I'm gonna run. So right now this file is empty, and I run this command. Boom. Okay, you still have the result that you want, you expect, right? Even though you see this error is actually from this console log. So don't worry, just put it there so you know what's wrong here. Okay, that's about everything from this morning. Okay, and then finally you save it back. Sorry, I forgot about this. You save the data to your data.json file by using dry file scenes. You also have fs write file without scenes. This will, okay, so here's asynchronous. JavaScript will wait until you finish this line. If you have scenes here, if you don't have scene, it will try to write this one. It will skip, like, what if this action takes like 1 second to execute? If you use this method, JavaScript will wait for 1 second and then execute the rest of the code. But if you don't have the scenes here, it will execute this code right away, and it doesn't wait until this one's finished, but skip to the next one right away, for example. It will not wait. Okay, so that's the difference between scene and not scenes. You can read about it in the documentation. Yeah, where is it? Normally the one with the scenes here. Okay. Scene and without scenes. Yeah. You have something Wi-Fi without scenes, but this one you're gonna use a callback, which means it will move to the next slide right away. It doesn't wait. Yeah, usually that. Yeah, that's the correct. So there's some case we want to use this. Normally we want to wait until it finishes, because what if there's an error, right? We have to handle the error. Okay, that's pretty much it for this morning. Next. Oh, sorry. So here I have a link here that will take you to the documentations for the Node.js modules. Right. Next is that we were able to read to-dos from local. We'll also be able to add a new to-do. So here's the interesting part. Right now it's very hard. It's okay. Our code is okay, but what if you have a bunch of different commands? For example, you will have delete, you will have update, you will have for CRUD operation. For CRUD operation, you only have like create, read, update, and delete. But what if you want to have more options for the user to choose? For example, if you want to add a to-do, but you want to mark it as completed, right? Or you want to list all to-dos which is completed or not completed. So you have to add more arguments into your commands here. For example, or node.js add complete, for example, something like this, right? So here it will not understand, sorry, list complete. So here it's very, you can check the next argument. It's going to be 3, which is the argument 2 is list, and then the third element is complete, and then you render the to-dos which is complete, right? That's okay, that's doable, but in time, if your application have more arguments, it's very hard to manage those. And that's why I will introduce you a new library, which is called Yap. Yeah. And it actually is a library that will help you manage the command line arguments, which is used very widely, I would say, Yap here. Go to npmjs.com, Yaps. So here you see this library. It's a module, a very big module. You see for almost 45 million downloads per week. As you can see, this number is very it's a big number. Why is there so many people using it, right? Because this module is used in a lot of, it's a dependency for a lot of other modules. For example, React app, React app. Actually, I think React app actually use that model as well, and it's used a lot. It's used a lot in other modules. That's why you see when you npm install, the Node module package manager will also install this module for you. That's why there's a huge number of downloads per week like this. Just like Green Graph or the one we used earlier. I forgot. Just like Green Graph. Yeah, I forgot the name of the other libraries, but they use a lot. So here you need to install this. Copy this line and paste here. Right. So if you have time, you can read a little bit about the documentation here. Well, you don't see that much, but if you go into the API here, there will be a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of uses. and we don't use all of them. We're gonna use a very simple version of that, which is this. I prepare for you in the lab section. So here we go. So we're gonna use something like this. Okay, I'm gonna copy and paste this. If you have time, you can go and read the docs. That's a long docs. Sometimes it's very hard to use, but it's a story of developer. You have to read all the documentation in order to use them, though. So here I can remove all of these if-else, which is very hard to manage later on, right? I'm gonna delete them, and I'm gonna paste something here. So I'm gonna delete this. You don't need this for now. So I'm gonna delete this. I will keep the. I'll keep only the necessary one. I cannot hit down button. Okay, so I will explain the code here. So this part I took from the documentation. So basically we will create a command, we define a command, right? So this command, you can name it anything you want. For example, here I will name it list, okay? Or maybe add, for example, add. So I'm trying to add a new to-do. So you can describe this command used for adding a new to-do, for example, okay? And the builder will decide which argument, the following arguments you will have for this command. For example, right now, I will have another argument called to do. And that command, that argument will be the, you describe the argument. So it's gonna be a to do content. Or you can describe what you are going to do. Okay. And you define the type. So right now it's gonna be a string. Okay. And the main option means, is it required or not? Is this required or not, right? Here we go. And here another props here, handler, which take in a function. Handler is not a string or an object, it's going to be a function, right? So this function will receive the arguments, right? And right now I'm going to construct the argument here. You don't have to do complete. So right now this function, so when you run this command, you will call the function. And this function right now, it just construct what you input. That's it, nothing more. So right now I will show you what happened. Mod add.js, then the name of the command, which is add, right? And the next argument is going to be the describe what you want to do next, right? So I'm going to do just for testing only. Okay, you have to do something like it to equal, because the name of the arguments. So this here is different from you write an if-else statement. For writing an if-else statement, and you have to take a look at the process.app. And here you care about the order of the arguments. But using app Yax here, you don't need to care about the order. But this time you need the name of the arguments. For example, we call it to do. And when I run this, I don't think we will see anything. Yeah, it's certified, right? Because there's no Yax. You need to import it first. I forgot to do that. So called Yax equal require Yax. Okay, again, it will not do anything, because right now we only define it. We have never run Yax at all. We only define this command. We have never run this command, this package. So we need to do something like this, pass. Okay, so now it works. So basically this slide means to execute Yax. Right here, we only define the command. Here we execute Yax. So when we execute Yax and we run this command, we run add, and then we have to do. We need to provide the to do arguments, and then the handler here we construct, we bring out the to do body, which is testing only, right? So what if I don't have anything here? I only run add. Wow. So Yax will show us kind of like a guide or a helper that will show us the what this command does and what it needs, what arguments it needs. For example, here, this command is used for adding a new to do, and this text came from the description here. Okay, cool. And then we also have a couple of options. So have and version will be it's kind of like the built-in arguments. You don't need to worry about those. But there's another argument here that we define on line 29 here, which is to do. So to do is an argument that will be a string here, and this field is required. And what it does is it will describe it, actually here the description for that argument, describe what you are going to do, right? So you can do add hello. You see the hello string. Oh, sorry, I forgot the name of the command. Okay, to do hello. What if we have more? We need more arguments. So I'm gonna copy that. I'm really lazy, so now I change this one to status or completed or not. You can call it anything you want. So this is gonna be a boolean, right? Mark to do status is the main option true. You don't need this. Or you can have default. I forgot default. Default value will be false. Okay. So now I will run the command again, but this time you have one more. You want to construct one more argument. Arguments dot completed. Okay. So add to do hello. Wait. Do did oh I didn't save it. Sorry. Okay, here is undefined. Wait, why is it undefined? Sorry, give me a minute. Completed. I don't think the default value here work. Let's take a look at the snippet here. Oh, default, not default value, sorry. Default. Okay, again. So here you will see the default value, which is false. If you want to turn it to true, so here is true. Again, default value will be true, right? If you actually provide an argument for that, so it's going to be completed equal false. There you go. Okay, cool. So that's how you add more arguments after the command add, like this. So now so I don't want to just construct the arguments. So I want to add the new to do into our data here. So I will do the same thing. I'm gonna do const data equal const to do's equal low data, right? Then to do's dot push arguments dot to do, and then finally I'm gonna save the data to do's. Okay, I'm gonna construct successfully. Okay, for example. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna say hello successfully. So inside your data.json here, you see the new text hello, right? So I'm gonna say goodbye, for example. Okay, you should see goodbye inside the array, right? Okay, that's a simple string. But if you want to add completed status as well, so I'm gonna delete this. And if you want to, usually we will store an element as an object, not just a string. For example, we want to store the data like this. To do would be hello, for example, comma status will be not completed, will be false by default, right? We want to store an object like this inside our array here. Okay, so let's do it. So I'm gonna cut this one. So instead of pushing just a string, I'm gonna push an object. I'm gonna push an object. Okay, and the to do will be the argument dot to do, and the completed will be argument dot completed, and we push it to the array and then save. Right, try again. Let's go with hello. Done. Let's remove the construct here. Okay, so now inside our database, not really but database, but data.json, we have an array of objects, and each object will be a to-do, and each object will have at least 2 fields here, to-do and completed, to tell you the content of to-do and whether it is completed or not, right? So usually we want to add a new key, which is ID. So it will help you to delete or update an element later, or you can use index, that's fine. So that's pretty much it for the usage for Yarn. Do you have any question? I know I copied the whole Yarn command and then I modify it, but if you want to do, if you want to follow a documentation from a library, you should copy and paste first, and then try to change it afterwards to avoid a spelling mistake. Just like me before, I use default value, which is wrong. There's no shut option. There's only default option, right? So depending on the library that you use, you need to use the correct option. That is the require in the doc. Okay. So I'm gonna do one more command to list all the to-do, right? So here we're here. If we want to add more command, you can just do it like this. Yarn.command. And then here I'm going to type command. This one will be list, comma, and then describe it. List all list commands. Sorry, list tools. If you want to see completed to-dos, use completed like that. Okay, comma. Then what next? Builder. Okay, builder, which is an object. Inside the builder, you need to another argument, which is completed. Okay, completed. You need to describe it. Describe it. Is completed to do. True equal to list completed to do. False will list uncompleted. Okay, something like that. Okay, Then else, you need the main option or type. So type will be Boolean. Okay. And if the default value will be false, for example, like that. Okay, the last option will be handler. Okay, so here will be the handler, which is a function, and this function will receive arguments by default, which are from the builders here. So right now we only have one argument, which is args.commit. So here I'm going to do const todos equal read a to-do, load a to-do from the database. Okay. Here we can run a for loop, or we can use for each or for off. So let's use for each to keep it simple. Todos for each element. I'm going to construct e. Todos will be e, right? So right now, to keep it simple like this. Okay, I'm going to save, and I'm going to do not app.js list. Okay, so now I see a to do. Right now we only have one hello, right? So I'm going to do app to do equal goodbye. So I run the same command list again. So we see two to-dos. They are all true. And let's create one more with false. Why is it true? Oh, because by default it's true. Okay, this one should be, no, here, this one should be false. Okay, back to false. So I'm gonna do have dinner. Okay, so now dinner will be false. So if I want to see only the uncompleted to do, I can do it like this: list, and then completed, go to false. Right. So I want to do something like this, and I want to see only the false, the uncommitted to do. So you can do it like this. You can filter it here. So you can do const results equal to todos dot filter. You want to keep only the to do which is completed, right? Or uncompleted, depending on the argument here. So you have something called completed. Okay, this one is called destructuring. I think you're already familiar with that. So here you can filter dot completed match. You only you only show which the to do which match is completed. Okay, and then you for each result here, not the whole to do. That's pretty much it. So now you only see the uncommitted to do. Right. So I went really fast there. So let's go back and take a look again. So as we have done, we can create more commands. For this command, we can create another command like this, right?
I want to ask for can you have more than one handler in a yard command?
No, you only have one handler for one command. And you should have only one. So each command will only do one thing, right? And that one thing we don't know yet, but it will be dependent. It depends on the argument that we receive. So the list command will only list, only catalog, only to-dos. That's it. But which to-do we want to show is heavily depending on the option here, committed option here. So actually, it will be here if you want to do it a normal ways. Const completed to be r.completed, right? and then you filter the original to-do list, right? Not to-do list, to-do array, and then you only you filter all the to-do which is not completed or not, which doesn't match this value, and then render it. Really simple. If you want to show also the if you don't want to show the whole object like this, you can do something like this. Okay, I don't know why my external keyboard doesn't have this backtick here. So you can do to do $ e dot to do, and then escape and complete it. Okay, like that. Okay, now run the command again. So you have a to-do which is have been completed or not? Not yet. So that's pretty much it. Or you can just break it down. You can do it like this. Result for each e console log to-dos, comma e dot to do console log committed e dot committed. Okay, same thing. You see the same results. All right. It's very similar to how you add a new to-do. It's just the difference is just in here in the handler. So if you think that the handler is too long, you can create another function, a separate function to do just that and put it in another file. If you think that it's okay to have everything in here, that's fine. That's fine by me. So right now this side is very simple, so you can put everything inside the handler here. You don't have to define a new function and put on a logic in that function. Okay. Is that okay? No? So here's a challenge. How do you delete a to-do? So right now I want to bring the ID as well. So it's going to be ID. Okay. This one should be index. Here's going to be the index. Right. That's wrong. If you don't have ID and you use index here, how do you delete a? So if I want to delete this have dinner to do, how can I do that? Can anyone help me with that? Can anyone? So instead of me doing that, so let me walk you through how to delete a single to-do. But we have to fix this one first. What if I want to see all the to-dos? What should I do now? I want to see all to-dos. Let's solve this problem first. Apply to list on to-dos, both committed and uncommitted. Okay, can anyone help me with that? You can change my code, it's fine, as long as it is work. All right, let's take a couple of minutes to take a look at my code again and think of how to list on the to-dos. Lou, I want to make sure you are still here. How do you do that? Are you here? Ta-da. Oh, someone's not here. Great. Yeah, so your challenge is you need to modify this code so that I want to see all the to-dos. I want to see all of them. Can someone help me? It's okay. You can try. I can help you. I'll remove like 65. Right. Right. And yes. Okay. So what if I want one thing more? I want to see all to do which is completed. Then do I have to go back to the code and then add these two lines back? Tung is right. You're right. So I wasn't clear on this. If you, yeah, your solution is 100% correct. Yes. But for a backend developer, sometimes you have to think a little bit ahead. So I want a command that will be able to do three things, right? This all, this committed, list uncommitted. So I want to have one command that will be able to do these three things. Yeah. So your solution was correct. That's wrong. Very smart. Take three arguments in line 62. Question array for type. I mean, two arguments. What if I only need to provide one argument? Yeah, Luke is right. Yeah, so we so instead of having a boolean, we should have a string. You can use an enum, you can use a string, you can use an enum, but as long as you can check more than just two conditions, two cases, right? Now we have three cases. Everything, true and false. So we have three things, three cases. So let's do it. This is very bad. This description is very bad. So to do based on committed option, right? So instead of using a boolean, you can use strings, and default will be all. Okay. So by default, if you don't provide any argument for committed, it will be all. And then I'm going to delete everything here to make it. Okay, I'm going to keep this one. Delete the rest. Okay. So now we need, we understand the completed argument, right? So I'm gonna use the structuring completed to keep my code a little bit shorter. What's wrong with this? Wait, hang on. Have some problem here. What's wrong with this? Okay. So here we go. So we have a string, a condition here, committed. Committed here will be able, could be either all or what, completed or uncompleted, right? Okay. So now we can check if, oh, a bunch of if else now. Completed equal to on No. If committed equal to committed, it has to be a string, sorry. Then what? We're gonna do because to equal to low data. Yeah. So if committed is equal to committed, we want to show const result equal to, oh my God, no. Const results equal to to-do.filter. Okay. This one could be now here. So we need to modify results here. Const results here, result will be with equal to no, let. Okay. Result will be to-dos.filter. We want to filter all the element which is completed, right? E dot commit equal to commit equal to commit. Okay. Else if committed equal to uncommitted, we do results uncommitted. Okay. Else results will be to-dos. And then we show them all. All right. So now we can test. So if we want to see committed, we have to type committed. If we want to see uncommitted, we have to type uncommitted. Or just this make it simple. Sorry. Yes, that's fine. Okay, now let's do it. Committed. Sorry. Expect object but receive a function. What? Expect an object but we receive a function. Which line is that? Completed equal to completed. Wait, what happened here? Let me see. Expect an object. Builder. Oh, god damn. The header has to be outside of this, sorry. Terribly sorry. So this one is this one. So I'm gonna move this one out. Comma here. Okay. I don't know why the handler moved inside the builder. I have no idea why. Okay, try again. Okay, right now there's no completed at all because the data is true or false. So we need to change this logic a little bit. Equal to true, sorry. This one gonna be equal to false. Okay, done. Again. So now you see two to-dos. So can we just let to-dos? Look, where is it? So because filter will return a new filter will return a like it will return always return a new array, right? You can do it, but you will do a lot of reassign. So you can do let result equal to to-dos, and then result will be results. I think this way is make it more confusing, so, rather than having a placeholder results. So then you have to change it. Okay. So to do is going to be our original list, right? And the result will be whatever we want to print out. And sometimes you have you write code like that. You can reassign that value. It's okay. All right. So if you want to see uncompleted, yeah, we have one uncompleted, which is dinner. Wait, what is this? Sorry. I forgot to use E dot there. That's why it's so weird. Okay, again, now it's false, right? Have to do and it's not completed. Okay. But says so now okay, so now can you delete a to-do for me? If you don't give any argument, it's going to show all the to-dos for you, right? So I want to delete this one. Can anyone help me with that? Ta-da. Or you want to do it by yourself? Who's going to take this challenge? Do you want to do it? Who's going to take this challenge? Who's going to take the challenge? Use the ID. Yes, use the ID. Renew command, pass ID again. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to copy this. And handler function. Something. And then, okay. So we have the new one to delete. Delete a to-do. Unlink is to define to delete a whole file. Mark. It will delete the whole file here. So we don't want to delete all of them, all right? We only want to delete a single element inside the array. Okay, so I want to change this one to ID, right? Which ID you want to delete, right? Well, it should be a number. Okay. Splice. Yes. Okay, default. There will be no default. So the main options will be true. Okay. Bum, and yeah. There's tricky part here. I will show you the edge case. So what should I be put in here? Can anyone volunteer? What you're doing here? There are a couple of ways to delete an item. Okay, whatever way you need to understand here, one thing you need to pay attention, the ID here, what is it? What is the ID here?
It'll be the index.
Yeah, it's going to be the index of what?
Of the
it's going to be the index of whatever the array that you're showing, right? So I will show you the different to make our application a little bit fail-proof. We should not use index. Okay, we would rather use the ID. So instead of having these two, we need one more props, which is the ID. That's the best solution. If you want to go with index, so we need to understand what index is coming from, right? Sometimes it's going to be the index of this array. Sometimes it's going to be the index of the array. Sometimes it's going to be this index. So I will show you the difference. So right now, to do goodbye, you have the ID one, right? And what if I want to list the complete complete equal to completed, right? So, oh god, goodbye still one, because we didn't have any other one. But the index here will be different. Yeah, the index will, like, this index is generated every time you run for each. Yep. So using index here is not the best solution. You may run into problems, unforeseen problems. So usually in database, yeah. So usually in a database, we will have the ID props. So for example, it's going to be ID 1, like that. Using ID is the best solution. 2, for example. So here will be ID 3. Okay. So we always start with 1 instead of 0. So now you can happily remove using the ID now. Doesn't matter which one which array you are seeing. So this array is also the index. So now you don't really care about the index, right? So e.id. So I'm going to list same thing. So this is the correct ID. So this is the unique ID. Right? Cool. So the IDs now is the ID that we really expected. Okay, now you can decide which ID you want to delete. So there are a couple of ways to delete an item from the array. So let's go. I will go with a very simple way first. So you have array. So I'm going to do const todos equal to load data. Very simple. Okay, now const result. Yeah, for now, you can just watch I'm doing it. Later on, I will go back and fix that logic in when we add a new to do. Yeah. Okay. So right now, just watch me delete a to do. So result here will be whatever we want to set back to our database. So result here will be to dos. You can use filter to filter out the rest to filter out the ID which we want to delete. For example, here e.id is not equal. We only keep the rest, right? Okay, and then we're gonna do save data results. Okay, and then finally I'm gonna console log. Done. That's one way. You can, instead of using filter, you can use splice. That's fine. That's fine for me, and I really prefer that way. So I want to release the ID number 2 here. For example, I'm gonna do node.js delete ID equal 2. Done. So 2 is gone, right? Okay. So now if I add a new one, I want to add that back. Add to do equal to have dinner. Okay. So now you don't have the ID, right? We successfully deleted it, but when we add a new to do back, there's no ID field. So we can, which will be faster, splice. Always splice faster, and it saves a lot of also save memories. Okay, where am I? So where do I add a new to dos? Here. So when we add a new to do, we, instead of just pushing 2 fields, we can push one more field, which is the ID, right? But now we don't have this ID. We don't have this ID. Ta-da! We don't have this ID. So how do we get the ID? This ID? Another challenge. Yeah, use time, data object, and then you stringify it, right? What if we want to have some ID that's really increment every time we add a new one? Makes sense, right? So in a traditional database, you will have ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then for a certain, it's go from 5 to 7, which means someone deleted 6 and 6 already. So how do I do that? For example, right now I want to select delete this. So how do I get 4 here? You will get the last element ID and then you increment it by 1. That's the simplest way. Yeah. So you do something like this. To-dos, to-dos dot length -1 dot ID, right? +1, correct? So if an ID has been deleted, so 1, 2, 4, yeah, it's gonna be 1, 3, and 4. So if you delete 3 here, the ID will be 2. This doesn't perfectly solve the problem though, but it works. For example, right here, if you delete 3, and when you add a new one, the ID will be 2. Yeah, so you could add a short method to run after the delete function to resort the value to field missing ID. Wait. 1% at a time, right? I'm reading all the commands at the same time, confusing. Let's talk about math first. You could add a short method run after the delete function. After the delete function to resort the value to fill the missing ID. Yeah, that's right. But there will be a cost though. That's a lot of work, yes. And you will have to resolve it. What if you have a very long list and it takes a lot of time, right? And memories. Yeah, that's one way, but it's not optimized. And look, the answer from Luke, but it shouldn't be the purpose of using unique ID. Yeah, time data object will have a unique ID, correct? And you can also sort by datetime as well. So usually in MongoDB, when generating a unique ID, it will combine 3 different criteria, and one of them will be time. So you can use time, or you can use this way, so that will be more readable for human, if you want. Or you can use something like this. Dũng, I remember the problem. If you want to use time, what happened there is that, what if you want to delete it? You have to type the very long ID there, right? So So if you make it a daytime Unix format, it's gonna be a number like this, 15 something, blah 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 here. And then if you want to delete that that item, you need to okay, I don't know which one. Tần Dũng Ngô, To Dũng. Yeah, I was talking to Tần Dũng Ngô. So you need the ID here, which is very hard to remember and type. Right. So we have no other option, right? Let's stick to this one. Yeah. So this one is right. Okay. This one is fine for the moment, but this is not enough. There will be a problem here. What if the array is empty? There will be no item to +1. Okay. So we need to have a condition check here. So let's define that ID here outside. Okay, to make it simple. So if you can call ID equal to that, but here you need to check it for dot length equal to 0. The ID will start from 1, else it will increment, right? Any objections? If you think what the hell is this, you can just yell. So here I will explain why I have this logic, because I need to check the to-do array. If it's empty, so then we will start with 1 always. If there's an element inside that, we will get the element, the last element in the array, and then we +1 for the ID field, and then stick it in here, and then push it. Okay, let's test it. So I have ID 1 and 3. If I add another one, have dinner, it's going to be 4, right? Check the data. So it's 4. Okay. If I delete them all, save, and try it. So I will have ID 1, correct? One more time, ID 2, right? So that's fine by me. I'm satisfied with this. Okay. It's usable, it's human readable, and it works as expected. There's a little bit of cons, just a little bit, but that works. Okay, do you have any question about that? Any objection, for example, any suggestion to make the ID more perfect? Huh? All right, but sometimes I want to lead on to in Hefler. Yeah, that's extra for you, that's optional for you. That's optional, yeah. Okay, your homework. It really depends on how many you want to have in total. Okay, so I think that's enough for the walkthrough. You can expand or you can add more filter to your app. All right, but let me explain everything again. I think some people were it's lost now. Right, let me see. I will ask a couple of things. If you don't ask anything, I assume that you understand everything, and I will ask you to explain. Okay. Oh, I like this duck. Who is this? I don't see the name. Hey, Jisho, you there? Hello. Wow, very fast. Okay. The best way to learn is to understand the flow first, and then the code, right? The syntax later. So okay, let's go with the last one. Can you explain the whole block here? What I was doing here, and what's the logic behind the flow behind when you want to delete a certain to do using the ID? Hello. Mm. Explain the flow for deleting a to-do. Hello, Jisung.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry for delaying. I'm just like
Yeah, that's fine.
processing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you kind of like a guide. So what should I do first when I want to delete a to-do? What do I need? For example, I'm gonna see a to-do like this, a list of to-do. Oh God, I don't have any. Sorry. Let's add something. Lunch. Let's go swimming. Okay. So I want to delete this to-do. What do I need first? What information do I need? Hello, Jishan.
Can you actually like skip me? I think it takes time for me to process.
Yeah.
So I think I need to rewatch your video.
Okay. So okay. Someone else then Juan, the professional photographer. Hello. Yes. So usually when you want to delete a photo in your folder, what do you need? What information?
So you need to know the location or the ID?
Yeah, the location of that photo or the name of that photo that you can click on that photo and they select it and delete it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in this case, it's going to be, it could be the to-do body, the to content, right? It could be either of these three fields, but which one is unique? Which of the three fields is unique?
The ID.
Yeah, only the ID is unique. Sometimes you have in two have in here, right? So the ID here will be unique. So we need to target the ID and use the ID to find the item that we want to delete from the array. Okay, so we need ID. Next, we need to create the command, right? Using Yards.
Yeah, the deletes.
Yeah, so this one for now you can copy and paste. Okay, and in the builder we need the user to provide the ID. Right, it's a required field argument like that. It's a number, and then we will use that number to do a filter, or you can do a spline here. But to use a spline, we need to find out the index of that element. So you have to call idx equal to find index of results dot find index e.id match the args.id, and then you have the index if idx. If it doesn't, if idx is not -1, you can find the index, the ID, the element that match the condition. Then it will return the index of that element instead of -1. If it cannot find anything, it will return -1. So here we have to check if it's not -1, then we can do results dot splice idx, and then we display only one element inside the array. And then finally we save it back. So you can do either way. Okay. Or you can use just filter in short. And then you save. Right. Okay. Can you help me here? Okay, that's enough for one person. Can anyone help me to delete all the to-do that is done, that is completed? Yeah. So delete all to-dos which are done. Anyone can do this? Help me. Help me. Help me. This is tricky. Yeah. Okay. Look. In this case, I will create a new command rather than using this. This command is just to delete a single to-do using the ID. Sometimes we have to keep it simple like that. Don't make a function or command too complicated. Right. Okay. Look. Okay. Do you want me to create a? Do you want me count as equal results in as command equals command? Ah. Okay. Do you know? Nope, it's not gonna work. For sure, I'm 100% sure that it's not gonna work. Do you know why? The method find index will return the index of the first match. Okay. Right. So it's gonna be like this. Results to start filter e dot completed not equal to r dot whatever you want here, for example, right? And then you save the results. But you need a new command for this. You cannot use the same here because we need the ID here. You can. Yeah, I would create a new command. Say delete it many or something. Okay. Right. So in this app, you can create more filter. You can add more filter to your app if you want. If you really need it, I can suggest more functions if you want. But the requirement will be, let me see. Yeah, here's a couple explanation. Oh, this is optional. You can use it or not. It doesn't matter. It's there to make the output of your terminal lively, more colorful. For example, here. Right, it's so slow. This GIF. Blah blah blah. Okay, you can see the color here. So that package will actually help you to do that. Okay. So the requirement filter today to you can list on to-dos, display their content and the status using list command, which I already did that. And you can list on to-do that either complete or not, right? You can delete a specific to-do using the ID, which I already done. You can update the to-do by easy. What is this? Okay, you can use any command name you want, but the purpose here is that you can update the status or the to-do body, and you can delete all of them, or just say all the to-do that is committed. And what is it? Text message should be written in custom style. Oh, so this one is the chalk package here. Man, I hate chalk. You can think of many more features if you want. If you don't run out of ideas, you can ask me or Vin or Đức Anh or anyone here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Okay, let me ask you if you're okay. Here. So this question is about, are you okay with the walkthrough, or do you want to work a little bit more explanation somewhere else? Yes. Right. Okay, I received one no. Which part do you want me to go over again? Two notes. Okay. Three no. Okay. So I got three notes here. Oh, did I give you the house? Yeah, you can give to me, but doesn't matter. So how do I reclaim it? So how do I reclaim the horse? Yeah, no, I can do it, but I can reclaim it. I did that before, just don't remember where. Well, anyway, okay, so we have 3 nodes here. Which part do you want me to go over again? Right. So maybe I will let you guys to explore Node.js on your own a little bit. Then if you have questions, you can hop on Zoom to ask me, Đức Anh or Vinh. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I see a thumb up from Horn. Yeah, coding is about, can you go over the again, the delete? Okay. Which delete? I have 2 delete. Oh, okay, I only have 1 delete. 91. Okay. Okay. So here I want to add a new 1 by 1, right? Line by line. Okay, I want to add a new command, which is delete. So here, and I will describe this command a little bit. Delete a to-do using the ID. Okay. And we want to have a required argument, which is the ID number, right? So here we have it, ID. And it's a number, it has to be a number, and it's required. So if you want to delete, you need the ID to delete it, right? So it's required. And the handler, which is what we're gonna do with that command, right? So inside that is a function. Yeah, sure. Just like in the other function, we need to load the data, right? Load the data, and then, so asks here, inside asks here, we have to do, so we have an array. So this array is gonna look like this. So this array looks like this, okay? If you want to delete a to-do with ID number 1, for example, if you want to delete an ID, a to-do with the ID at number 1, you have 2 options. You can either use splice or you can use filter, or you can do other sub method. It's okay. But to keep it simple, I'm going to use filter here. Okay. And filter will return a new array which match the condition, right? So here's our condition. On the element that doesn't have the ID that we want to delete, right? Or the items that doesn't have the ID that we want to delete, which means ID, if we want to delete number 1, so keep 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the rest, right? And result here, we'll have everything except the first element. And then we save the data back. Okay, so question is, what the heck is this args? So this args will be, yeah, it's the input from the terminal. So it's gonna be this value here. The name of the arg will be, so in here, you will have 3 args. You will have args.id, and this ID, the name of the browse here, is what we define here. If we change this to do ID, here we have to call it to do ID, right? Fine. Okay. Is it something? The value of that is something. Yes, that's the value. So let me delete again. Here we go. Okay. So let me node app.js delete dash ID equal, for example, 1. So I will delete one here. Done. What's got? Okay. So the name is here. The value here is whatever we input. Okay. So that's for deleting. Over again, add a new to do. Okay, add a new to do. Add a new to do here. Very similar to deleting. So to add a new to do, we need to know two, maybe just one. At least we need to know the content of the to do, right? So we need to know what the user wants to do. Oh my God, a lot of to do. So we need this props, and this is optional. If we don't have it, if the user doesn't provide it, true or false, we just simply use a default value, which is false here. Right. So here we have two arguments, ask.to do and ask.completed. Okay. Cool. Oh, I actually have it here. And then, as usual, we will load the data, and then we push the new object, the new to do, to that array, and then save it. So when we push, we need to know what we want to push in, right? So we need to push in an object which have the to do, and this value came from arguments dot to do. The completed will be argument dot completed, and everything, but it always say to do, say hello. Okay, that's problem from this morning, right? So I will check that with you later. This so if you have the code here, maybe you didn't push. Did you push it? Did you push correctly, or you can just construct it here? You can construct to do's here, and make sure that's new array. Yeah, bring your screen. Right. Let me explain the ID here. So the tricky part is the ID here. Using the real database, for example, MongoDB or any SQL database or any database out there, they will generate the ID for you. You don't have to worry about the ID at all. But here we simply use a JSON file, which means we have to manually generate the ID. And there's a couple of ways to generate the ID, which is unique. You can, just like someone said, you can just use the data object to stringify it. So you will have a unique ID. But if you use an ID, the ID is very long and it's very hard to type, remember, and type it in the terminal. So we just simply use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, for example. And to figure out the ID to push in, here a very simple algorithm. We can just get the ID of the last element, plus 1. So here we have 3. When I plus 1, it's going to be 4, right? So I'm going to do it. So it's going to be 4 now, right? So it's 4. And so that's the second part. But I have the first part here to guard against the case that the array is empty. When the array is empty, which means you don't have any to do, and we cannot access to any item in the array because we don't have any item. So it will throw an error in this part. We will say cannot get ID of undefined or null or something. So we need this condition to check if the array length is 0, then we simply use a default number, which is 1. Always start with 1. Else, we will use the ID of the last element plus 1. Okay. Then we push the new object to the array and then save it. Is that okay? Is that clear? A little bit clearer. So in here, I have in here, wing. Can you paste a code in Discord so I can fix? Right. Wow, heavy rain. Yeah. It hasn't rained yet here in Kodasur, but soon. Okay. I think that's it. I need to give you time to work on this. The best way to learn is to actually code. The best way to learn how to swim is actually get wet and then try to swim. You cannot be good at coding just by watching me or listen to me blah 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 all the times, right? So let's actually try to write some code there. If you have problems, you can ask us anytime. Okay, see ya. I'm gonna stop the recording. That's very long already. So see ya. I'll back in 1 minute. Don't worry. Stop recording.